Update brought to you by Powerfleet. I'm here with Tony Mulvey. Tony, I'm excited about this one. How are you doing?
Doing well, Anthony. So we'll get started here with our outbound tender volume index. So kind of the same trend, right? March has been kind of that turbulent month. We've seen volumes come down pretty dramatically. I think they're down 9%, just over 9% since March 1st. So pretty drastic decline in tender volumes. I know down about 15% from where we were a year ago, but we're up compared to where we were in 2020 when we saw that surge in freight volume at the initial impacts of the COVID-19 outbreak. But look where we are, 2019, we're still well above that. So we're not at those levels, but there is definitely cause for concern when you see tender volumes in a month that should be strong. I mean, quarter closes tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So shippers should be moving things off their docks that it seems like they're not, right? Typically this last month or last week of the quarter is pretty strong, but I mean, this year it's been anything but that. So definitely a little bit of a room for concern. I know Craig's put out an article about it recently, talking about the blood, 3 years later, a bloodbath may be coming, especially for those small truckload carriers. And really this volume trend is pretty concerning. I mean, anytime you're down 10%, it's pretty significant. If you look where we're at that 13,455 mark, it's pretty much where we were at Memorial Day last year, right? And you think about holidays and how this index is calculated. Holidays essentially a 0 day in a 7-day moving average. So when you see this decline around the holidays, it's kind of expected because you have 0 days, right? I mean, you have 6 days of data counting in a 7-day average. Well, we're at that level where we were on that significant drop at Memorial Day. So definitely, that's where my concern is that we're at these levels that are holiday troughs, not like pre-holiday levels. So it's definitely an interesting time to be moving freight. We'll move here on to our next chart, and it'll pull up our outbound tender reject index. And what we've seen, it's declined too. I mean, it's down about 14%. We'll see it here in a second. But I mean, when you start adding the two together, so you take your outbound tender volume index that includes all your freight and adjust it by that outbound tender reject index, what you're seeing is accepted volumes are actually up about 1% year over year. But I mean, that number was 10, 12% a month ago. So I mean, you're kind of seeing that drastic decline in those volumes as well. So actual true volumes that we're seeing move throughout the freight market. And guess what? I mean, where are we headed? I mean, March is supposed to be really strong, and it hasn't been. April, what do we see? I mean, you think about, you've got produce. It kind of takes some capacity out of the contract market into the spot market that it doesn't show up as significant, but you definitely see it in the rates, which are down. I mean, you look at rates, they were down 8 cents week over week. They're down 23 cents since the beginning of the month, which a 23-cent decline in a spot rate is pretty significant. I mean, especially when you factor in those are all-in rates, right? They include fuel. Fuel prices have risen rapidly. So you would think that rate, so what that tells me is that underlying rate, so that actual baseline haul rate has come down pretty rapidly, which obviously is not a great thing. But with that said, there are still some areas where there are opportunities, right? There's still areas where carriers can make money. There are areas where rates are still coming up, and we'll see that here in a carrier update a little later. We'll talk about one of those lanes.
And Tony, I mean, I think you bring up a good point, especially when you're looking at this downward movement right now. Yeah, it's still, well above historic levels, but this is almost type of trends that you see in really significant slower growth. So you want to know where that trough is going to be. And even though it's still above some of those historic levels, it's still coming down at a pretty impressive clip right now. Yeah,
and when you think about it, people have started to get used to these elevated levels, right? I mean, you've had carriers enter the market at a rapid clip. I mean, everybody's driving the wheels off their trucks.
Yeah.
And guess what? I mean, now we're down, like I said, 15% year over year, and that's where we were. That 15,000 mark was where we were for all of 2021. So, I mean, anybody that got in 2021 has been used to this, and now you're down 15%. Well, guess what? That's a big decline when you think about it. So definitely something to pay attention to. And I think on our next carrier update, there's a pretty interesting chart that we'll start off with that kind of tells where volume levels are and what's across the mileage band and what's leading the way. So
Awesome, Tony. We're looking forward to that next update. Right now, we're going to toss it back over to Kaylee Nix.